Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Healing Art After Hours. I'm Shauna Robeson with Creating Space Coastal. And in this video, I'm going to do a guided intuitive journaling on the subject of self-love. And this is my journal page. So if you'd like to see how I went about it, stay tuned. The prompts will be posted on coming up in the video and also in the notes below. So you can check those out. And if you'd like to see how I did it, stay tuned. Let's get started. So welcome everybody to another episode of Healing Art Happy Hour, where we are going to be doing a guided intuitive art journal page. And today's topic is self-love, and that's an important one. And I'm going to read a little, I don't know, it's not really a quote, but it's from the 5-Minute Mindfulness Journal. And that's by Noah Rasheta, if you're wondering. Self-acceptance. When we look at the clouds in the sky, we accept them just as they are. In order to befriend our own mind, you must learn to accept yourself. Rather than try to change your feelings, thoughts, experiences, shortcomings, fears, and struggles, accept them in this moment. Change is inevitable anyway. You don't need to change or improve before you can love yourself. Self-love is possible in this moment, just as you are. The following prompts are designated to help you understand this. Now that's talking about, it just has these little journal prompts, but I'm going to be talking about a different journal prompt, but might be related to one of those. But I just want to talk a little bit about how important it is to start with ourselves when we're talking about love. Because when we are fully invested in ourself and our self-care and loving ourselves and accepting ourselves, that reflects into the world and it overflows to other people. And when we have judgments about ourselves, we often project those onto other people that we interact with, and that can impact our relationships with those other people. And I read somewhere, I'm trying to remember the book title. I think there was a study where they had someone who they told them that they were going to do a study about how people interact. So they actually said, okay, we're going to put this fake scar on you and we're going to have you go out and interact with someone. And we want you to observe how that person interacts with you, given the fact that you have this deformity, if you will, on your face. And so they put this scar on, they gave a mirror to this person, the participant, and the person looked at it and, saw the scar. And then afterwards, they took the mirror away and then they said, oh, you know what, it's coming unglued or something. So we just want to do some touch up. So they went to the scar and they actually removed the scar. So they pretended like they were adjusting it or fixing it or something, and they removed the scar. But the person did not know this. They never showed them a mirror again. So they went out to interact with people, assuming that they had this scar on their face. And then they reported back, yeah, people changed their behavior with me. And they really believed that this interaction with this other person was impacted by the scar. However, there was no scar. So the reality is that we project our own judgments on ourselves onto others. And we think that they're judging us when in fact they may not be. It may be our own judgments that we are reflecting on them. It can also be that when we have those insecurities or those judgments about ourselves, that we interact differently and we do get different behavior from another person, right? Because we're looking for the telltale signs that they're judging us or whatever. So we might behave a little more defensive with that person, and they may not receive us as well as if we were to really truly love ourselves and present ourselves as if we are a confident, self-loving person. We're raised in our society, I think especially women in our society, that we're conceited, or if we think positively about ourselves and our bodies, that there's something wrong with us. It's received very negatively if we talk positively about ourselves. And so what we tend to do just to be accepted in our society is complain about ourselves, right? We have a lot of lamenting that we do about our bodies, about whatever, because that's more accepted and tolerated in our society. So it's really about, we got to shift the mindset of being able to encourage that positive self-talk, that we don't have to see that as a negative thing, that you're not conceited or self-absorbed if you love yourself and you take care of yourself first, because before you can help others, you need to be healthy, right? It's just like the airplane, use your oxygen first before you help others, because if you pass out, you can't help others, right? So if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not going to be able to help others. And that's true also with love. It's very difficult to give love to others if we haven't figured out how to love ourselves in this moment as we are. So for the exercise today, we're going to do the writing exercise as usual. And for those of you who are new, we do a writing exercise based on self-love. I want you to just, if you're going to follow along with this, you can of course do any or none of these exercises as you wish. But if you're going to do this, just write a love letter to yourself. And you may even highlight some of those things that you tend to talk down upon yourself. If there are some issues that, that you tend to beat yourself up about, maybe give that some extra love when you write this love letter. So I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes. There goes my voice. And we're just write whatever comes to mind. Now you can write directly on your journal page like I'm going to do, or you can write it on a separate piece of paper and you can incorporate that in, or keep it in a separate journal, or tear it up and make it part of the collage, whatever you want to do. Or just think about it for 3 minutes if you don't want to write. But I think it's a nice way to break the blank page of my journal. So I'm going to go ahead and write in my journal. And on your mark, get set, and write. All right. If you started something and you feel like you want to continue on that, you certainly, can, or you can follow along with the next step. I got ink all over me, so I'm just going to stick that right onto my journal page. Make some marks. By the way, I'm using this beautiful pen. Thank you, Maria. This was a birthday gift. And so I use it for my writing exercises. And I just was like, oh yeah, I can send some love about that. But I somehow got my hand into the ink. So hopefully with that exercise, some things came to mind about how you can be more accepting and more loving to yourself. And now we can move on to the journaling part of the program. And just keep that in mind as we move forward through this. This journal is about self-love. So bring those insights with you as you work through this. The first thing I'm going to do is just show you some of the things that I've gathered based on the prompts, because when I'm gathering these things, I get ideas, but again, I try not to go too far with a plan and have any expectations for what this will look like, but it does get my creative juices flowing, and it makes me think of other things to to have around me as I'm doing this intuitive process. So let me go through the prompts and I'll share what I pulled together, and then we can get started. So the focal subject is self. So I printed off, the first print was way too large, but I printed off a picture of myself and then I reprinted it so it could actually fit. So I could maybe include the picture, or else I could use this as a guide to draw if I want. I'm not sure what I will do yet with that, and then the next thing was the color red. So I gathered a variety of red things, including even some tape and some pigments. Now, the medium that I'm supposed to use is spray ink. So I didn't have a lot of reds, but I had a couple. and I incorporated some oranges and yellows too. I don't know if I'll use those, but I thought, you know, those are the analogous colors. And I kind of like turquoise or teal with the red. So I pulled that out too, just because I was inspired to. And then I grabbed some of my distress inks in the red palettes. So I have those handy. And some gelatos, which are the water soluble oil pastels. And of course, handy are some acrylics if I decide to go that route as well. But I just have, those are always handy. So the pattern is hearts. So I pulled a variety of things in heart shapes. I grabbed some punches. I have a couple punches, rubber stamps, all of my love and heart collections. This I pulled because this was more of a self thing, because it has curiosity, and that's something that I have always been, a very curious person. So, and I also liked the impossible is often untried. And so I just, and I had paintbrushes. So these are things that were kind of connected to myself. So I pulled those as well. And just some, you know, things that were loves and hearts. So I have those handy. And this I really liked just because I like having script, and I thought that that seemed like a love, kind of a love letter. And I think that says love on there. I'm not sure. But anyway, I really liked that. So that's a stamp as well. And then I also pulled some stencils in hearts as well, in case those come in handy. The tool and or supply that I selected was heat embossing. So I have a couple things for that. I have my clear embossing ink, which is basically just the medium that's kind of sticky. It's kind of a, I think it has like a glycerin base to it. And that will just create a sticky surface for the powder to stick onto. And then I sprinkle the powder on and heat it, and it'll melt it into a cool shape. So, and then I have my ink pad as well, in case I want to use it with inks. I would use this if I use it with Stencil. It's a little bit easier from the dauber. And then I brought gold because I thought gold would be a nice accent for the red. So for collage, the challenge was graph paper. So I have some graph paper here. Not sure yet how I might incorporate that. But I do have these other papers. With my punch, I actually found some interesting teal colors that I liked. So I just punched out some hearts with those because I liked those as accent colors with the red. Where to start? I think because usually I start with collage. I kind of want to make the paper though. I kind of want to do more inks on the paper, I think, than do collage. So like I might want to make something similar like this, but on this paper. So I think I'm going to hold off on that. I do need to figure out how to use this. And I might alter this in some way. So let me start with that, because maybe I'll alter this and with some of the spray inks and then use that in the project. That might be kind of fun. So let's just do that. This is, now I don't even know if any of these are available anymore. I've had these for a number of years. So these are Tattered Angel Glimmer Mist. So they're just a glimmer spray. So they have mica in them. And they're not real light fast, you know, archival, but they're fun for our journal. I don't like that it's making these rings when it sprays. So I think I'm going to dry this, and then I'm going to maybe do dabbing instead of spraying. I think spraying is great when you're going through a stencil, but it's not necessarily as good when you're just trying to get the pigment on the page. Depends. Now be aware that spray inks are not permanent. So as I'm attaching this, I have to be, there might be some of the pigment that moves. So we'll see how that goes. But I can always relay down pigment. So. And I'm going to use matte medium. It's really important to know the behavior of whatever pigment you're using. If it's water soluble, if it's going to activate with water or moisture, or is it going to be permanent? Because you have to just, keep that in mind when you're working with it to know what to expect. Like normally I expect India ink to be permanent, but this India ink that I'm using in my fountain pen, it reactivates for some reason. So it's fine as long as I know that and I know what to expect. I don't mind the messiness of it because I'm not trying to keep those words clear. But if I was, that would be really important to know. I think I want to at this point put on my heat emboss. So I'm just going to dry this layer. I could do like this stamp along the edge, or I could use this stencil. So in order to catch the powder, I like to use a little tray. So I have this to dump the excess powder in, and you'll understand what I'm talking about if you've never seen heat embossing. And I'm just going to daub this on. And now I'm just going to pour the powder on. And where it's sticky, it's going to stick to those hearts. And where it's not sticky, it's not going to stick to it. And one thing I forgot to do is sometimes you can put powder down to keep the rest from sticking in case something's wet. And that's why I needed to dry it real good. If there are any areas that it's stuck where you don't like it, like I don't really like this little design here, it kind of cut off a heart. So I'm just going to wipe that off. And it looks like I'm wasting all this powder, but I'm going to dump it all back into this bottle. So that's why I have this reservoir to catch it. See, otherwise you pretty much use all of it. And even though I've dumped the excess powder on, still when I heat it up, it blows a little bit of air, so it can release some powder. And that's why I have this tray here to just try to catch any stray powder. Now, when you're doing this part, you just want to keep it moving so you don't make your page too hot. You can even heat from the bottom. Normally, you just want to heat it up before you go to it, but it's pretty warm from all the drying I've been doing. See the magic. And you just chase the gold around. If you see anything that looks kind of dull, that's when you know it's not done, because it gets real shiny when it's done. And so now I have these little raised embossed hearts. Aren't those fun? There we go. So I like those kind of as a border. And because they're basically like a kind of a plastic, they're going to resist a lot of the pigments. So I can put more pigments over the top, but it's not going to necessarily hide those because I can just wipe them off usually and get the hearts back. So these are dye-based inks, and I can use those too. And I could even, if I wanted to, I could put this in a spritzer with some mica powder and make my own spray. But I'm gonna just do it by dabbing. You guys always see me kind of working with my fingers. It's a thing. I enjoy. I mean, there are some pigments out there that are the best for you, like in watercolors and acrylics. So, you know, I mean, with this, it's probably pretty non-toxic, but just FYI. But I just really enjoy getting my fingers in there. So look at that yumminess, you guys. And I'm going to bring back in that teal color, the turquoise. I think part of the reason I really wanted to add that with the red is that that's my favorite color. So that's part of self too. I'm digging that. Okay, I think that's a good place to start, to leave it with my background layer. If you want to paint yourself or whatever, you could gesso in the area and then start over with painting. But I think I'm going to cut this out. Maybe I could make a heart in the teal. That could work. I don't know if you guys can see that shimmeriness, but that's cool. I like it. It's subtle, but I can bring it out by just doing something around it. But I really like that. Okay, there we go. And then can you see that shimmeriness? Isn't that cool? I love it. I love it. Now, if you do print out yourself and you use an inkjet printer, just be aware that that can be activatable. And you could use some kind of fixative, even just to try a hairspray to keep that ink from activating. Now, I used a laser printer, so I should not have that problem. Okay, love. Yeah, I like that. I like that better. Okay, and then I want to find, let's see if there's somewhere I have either U or the letter U. Probably a Costco magazine. They're always telling you what to do for your health. See? That kind of makes me look like I'm in water, which is good because I love water. So I think I'm going to stop there, you guys. Thank you again for joining me for this episode of Healing Art After Hours. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment if you have any questions. And as always, happy creating. Bye.